Hey everybody, welcome to Free Game Friday. I'm attorney Ashley Goggins coming to you with some tips and advice for our fathers out there. I get so many questions about paternity rights, about child support, about child custody, and just the rights that a father has when it comes to their children. So I wanted to do this Free Game Friday series to, help my fellow fathers out there that are fighting for their rights, that want to know what their rights are. So go ahead, if you know any fathers, including your father, make sure that you share this, make sure that you tag some fathers, because they may need these quick tips, this quick information. And I, as everyone comes on, I'm going to go ahead and share it on my personal page myself. So let me share right now. Let me share. Okay. So I posted. So the first thing, hold on, y'all. The first thing I want to start off with is when you are a father, okay, you have a child, you have sex with a child in the state of Florida. So the advice that I'm going to be giving to you guys is going to be hypothetically based on the state of Florida. So if you're in the state of Florida, you have sex with a young lady in the state of Florida, and you all conceive a child. You give birth to a child, you go to the hospital, you sign the birth certificate. Let's just say you sign the birth certificate. When you sign the birth certificate, you are basically acknowledging that you are the father of the child. Most times it's an affidavit, okay? However, just because you sign the birth certificate does not mean that you actually have the same rights as the mother if you are not married. So if you are an unmarried father, you sign the birth certificate, that does not give you any type of paternity rights to your child. That means that the mother can take the child off of the blue card at school. That means that if your child's mother were to take the child out of state, move away, keep you from seeing the child, that would be absolutely okay in terms of legal ramifications, okay? So you have absolutely no rights, okay? Basically, she can take your name off of the blue card at school and take your child, and you never see your child again until you find her or get some court involvement in action. So today we're going to make sure that that kind of stuff does not happen. Basically, what you need to do, if you are on the birth certificate, you're not on the birth certificate, you need to do something called establishing paternity. You need to establish paternity through the courts. That means through the circuit courts. How do you do that? Well, you file a petition for paternity. When you file a petition for paternity, there's a couple things you can do. You can submit the birth certificate and say that your name is on the birth certificate and you've already acknowledged paternity. If you are not on the birth certificate and the mother does not agree that you are the father, then what you would need to do is to have an actual paternity test done. So you can have a paternity test done through the courts. If there is a basically 99% certainty that you are the father, then you'll have that prong done. You have been basically, in long story short, you've been adjudicated the father. So after that, this is when you start to establish the parenting plan, okay? This is key. This is like custody, time sharing, parenting plan. All of this is together when you're establishing paternity, right? So if you guys are on, make sure that you are sharing this with a father. Make sure that all fathers that you know that just because their name is on the birth certificate, just because their name, just because they have the child, you can have this child living with you for the child's entire life. 15 years, 13 years, 12 years, 10 years, 2 years. Literally have the child and the mother is out of the picture and you still have no legal rights. So it's very important that you establish, if you are an unmarried father, meaning you are not married to the mother at the time that you all birthed the child, then you want to make sure that you establish those paternity rights. And you do that through the courts, what we call a paternity petition and other related relief. And that other related relief is child support. A father can ask for child support as well as for time sharing, or AKA custody. So the parenting plan works based on how many nights out of the year, out of 365 days, how many nights you're going to have with the child, how many nights the mother is going to have with the child. You being the father, presumably I'm talking to the fathers out there. So you all can agree to a 50-50 split. You all can agree to a 60-40 split, which is usually every other weekend. You all can agree to the summers are with the mother or the summers are with the father, and then you alternate every other weekend. Typically, there is a one night in the actual week. It's something that you can negotiate. So the next thing after you establish that paternity petition, what happens is the mother has to respond. She has to answer the petition, and she can agree to everything that you said in the petition, or she can deny and agree on some of the issues. If she does not agree to your proposed, if you have proposed some type of parenting plan, if she doesn't agree, the next step, if you all don't agree on any issue, the next step is to go to mediation. Now, mediation is where you would sit down at a table and have a grown-up conversation about what's in the best interest for your child. So you would literally sit down with a mediator, and this mediators, most of the time, they have been doing it for a while. Sometimes they're lawyers. And so what you can do is you can discuss right there about what you all should do. So you can agree, say, hey, I want the child every weekend and once a week during the school night. Or you guys agree on spring break. You agree on holidays. Every holiday you agree to in a paternity, not in a paternity case, but a parenting plan. So you're agreeing on holidays. You're agreeing on breaks, winter breaks, spring break. You're agreeing on literally everything that has to do with the child, from decision matters to who can take the child out of town without permission, how much notice that the child needs when you take them out of town, medical decisions, everything is handled there. Now, sometimes these go really, really smooth and everybody agrees, let's do 50-50. I'm not trying to take you out of your child's life, but sometimes the mother wants more time. And let me tell you why, free game. Sometimes the mother knows that the person who has the child the most nights is the person who typically gets the most child support. If it's on the father's side and the father, so let me just back up. Let's talk about child support. So child support is based on a couple of things: how much each party makes, how much the mother and the father makes, and how much time each party spends with the child. So this is why this is key. If you and the mom, say you may make $70,000 a year and the mother makes $30,000 a year, there's a difference, of course, right there in income. So that means that if you have the child less than the mother, and probably, unfortunately, if you have it maybe equal time, because there is such a disparity in the income, the mother may end up still getting child support, especially if you don't have a lawyer. So this is why it's very important to lawyer up when it comes to child support time sharing, especially if you are a father, because historically, fathers just have not had good representation when it comes to being in front of the courts, because sometimes, it's shifting in 2018, but sometimes they weigh more heavily towards the mother. So you want to make sure that you are fighting for your child. You want to make sure that you are getting that paternity petition filed immediately so that you can establish your rights and get a fair parenting plan put in place, so that mothers will not hold your child over your head, so that mothers won't say, I won't put you on child support, or they'll say, you don't have no rights to my child, or they'll say, take me to court, or, so you don't want people to hold that stuff over your head. If there's a parenting plan in place, then typically both parties, unless they want to be held in contempt, are going to comply, and you can get equal time with your child. Now, unfortunately, you don't know what could happen. The mom could pass away. The mom could get locked up and go to jail. And you literally would have no rights to your child, to make those decisions without getting the courts involved. So you want to make sure that you're proactive instead of reactive and waiting on something to happen for you to make the move. And then you have to do it on an emergency basis, which is typically going to cost you more. So if anybody has any questions about child support, about child custody, about paternity, please feel free to message me in the comments below if you have any questions about paternity, anything that I said. Hey y'all. So I'm so glad that you guys came on. If you know a father that needs a paternity case open, especially you want to get your paternity test open and have be proactive about it, because you don't want the mother going down to in Jacksonville is Davis Street, going down to child support and actually doing the child support through, we call it DOR, which is the Department of Revenue, because the Department of Revenue does not handle, Department of Revenue does not handle any child parenting plan, any custody at all. So a lot of times you got fathers that are on child support, but they can't even see their kids when they get ready. You know, they have to see their kids when the mother feels like letting them see the child, if it's a spiteful situation. You know, some of you all out there are in a very good co-parenting relationship. Some of you all are with your child's mother, which is great. But you want to make sure, though, that, again, you never know what can happen. Regardless if you guys are together, living together, you still want to make sure, if you are not married, that you have established this parenting plan. And by married, I mean married when you all had the child, when the child was born, okay? Now, if the child, now this is another little thing, if the child is born into an intact marriage, if the child is born into an intact marriage, meaning the child was born while the mother was married to a man, presumably her father, that child is presumed the father, regardless if it comes out that the child is actually the biological child of somebody else outside of the marriage, okay? That's a whole nother live, y'all. That's a whole nother Free Game Friday. But fathers, you need to make sure that your rights are protected. You need to make sure that you are, doing what you can proactively in terms of your child or children, because you don't want anything to happen where you can't, the mother can take the child, or the grandmother may have the child out of the state. Something can happen. You want to be able to be involved, actively involved in decision making when it comes to your child. What type of medicine does she need to take? Does your child need to be moved to a different school? Does your child, are you approving for your child to go out of town? Are you approving for your child to get a passport? Like, all of these decision-making functions, as a father has the right, you need to ensure that those rights are yours, and, the mother is not making any unilateral or one-sided decisions, okay? So that was the Free Game Friday. I hope that helped you all out. Make sure, again, that you share this with any fathers. If you have any questions that you would like for me to answer on Free Game Friday, make sure that you click the link in this live. It's www.agogginslaw.com/free game. /free game. The link is in there. All you got to do is put your email address in, and you can submit your question, and I will answer your question on one of our segments of Free Game Friday. So that's a good free way to get your questions asked instead of sliding in my DM, okay, so we do have a question before I go. What advice do you give a father if a mother has left the state after the father has obtained a lawyer and is trying to avoid being served court paperwork for shared custody? Okay, that's a great question. Actually have had a case very, very similar to that. So basically, we have something in place that when a court case is open, the mother in the jurisdiction cannot take the child out of the jurisdiction. There should have been a notice filed. It's called a UCCJA. UCCJA. If that form was filed, that covers literally every jurisdiction in in the United States. So what happens is you want to make sure if that father, if she has left, he wants to find her and get her served out of state. He can get her. I just had somebody serve, 2 people served out of state when they did basically the same exact thing. Almost basically the same exact thing. We were able to locate her. You may have to get a private investigator. If the children are located in school, then you can locate or contact process server down there. You can locate the sheriff's office down there. They can serve the mother or the other party, because basically that's not going to look good on her, knowing it's presumably, if she knew that there's a court case going on, that does not look good on her when it's time to establish a parenting plan, or either father or mother that is trying to avoid the paperwork. So normally when something like this happens, I immediately file my paternity petition, as well as the child support paperwork, we call it the uniform custody, UCCJEA. So make sure that those are filed in the case. And if you know any county or jurisdiction that she's in, I would definitely reach out to a process server there. All you have to do is forward the petition and all of the documents to the process server in that county or state where she is, and get her served. Let's see. Okay, does anybody else have any questions? That was great. So again, if you have any questions about paternity, child support, child custody, go ahead and click the link that I have in this video above and submit your questions so that I can answer them on live at our next Free Game Friday segment. See you all later, and don't forget, go with Goggins. Give me a call if you want to schedule a consultation at 904-903-4522. Go with Goggins.